Have you ever wondered if everything you believe about relationships, desire, and power is only half the story? For centuries, our understanding of relationships between men and women has been shaped by social conditioning that hides deeper truths. Even ancient philosophers like Socrates recognized something that many still miss today. Beneath the surface of society, women possess a unique kind of power that often goes unacknowledged. In ancient Athens, women were expected to be silent and obedient in public. Yet in private life, in families, in raising children, in intimate relationships, they wielded significant influence. This soft power didn't demand attention but commanded respect and shaped decisions. This same dynamic continues today, operating quietly in modern relationships. Carl Jung called this the anima, the unconscious feminine energy within every man's psyche. When a man remains unaware of this force, it doesn't disappear. It controls him from the shadows. This creates a fascinating question. In our relationships, are we interacting with real people or with projections of our own unconscious needs? Most people never examine this question. Instead, they remain trapped in cycles of attraction, confusion, and resentment. As philosopher Alain de Botton observed, we fall in love not with those who are right for us, but with those who feel familiar. Familiar because they connect to something unresolved within ourselves. This is where Socrates becomes relevant today. He invited us to look beneath appearances and examine our true motives. When applied to relationships, this means questioning what truly attracts us and what we're avoiding acknowledging about ourselves. Imagine growing up in a society where men are taught to provide and pursue, but never to understand the depth of feminine psychology. In such a world, women become symbols, desires, mysteries, often feared but rarely understood. Women learn to navigate this dynamic not through malice, but through adaptation and survival. As Simone de Beauvoir said, one is not born, but rather becomes a woman. This transformation happens within structures that reward certain behaviors while penalizing others. The silence that many mistake for absence is actually strategy, a response to generations of having direct communication dismissed or punished. This isn't about manipulation, it's about adaptation. Just as animals develop camouflage to survive, humans evolve social strategies. Not all of these strategies are spoken. Some are instinctual, passed down through generations in whispers between mothers and daughters. The goal isn't to blame anyone, but to awaken to deeper understanding. If we want meaningful connections, we must stop treating women as puzzles to solve or ideals to chase. We need to see them as complex beings navigating a world that doesn't always allow them to speak freely. And to do that, we must first look within ourselves. Socrates said, "Know thyself." But what if knowing yourself means understanding how much of what you think, feel, and want has been quietly shaped by feminine influences you never recognized? What makes understanding relationships so challenging is that we raid dealing with centuries of suppressed truths and emotional undercurrents that rarely find words. This is why many men feel something is off in their relationships but can't name it. It's not because women are hiding something. It's because we were never taught to see the invisible structure of emotional power. Socrates wouldn't simply ask, "What do women want?" He would ask, "What assumptions you're making that blind you from seeing the truth?" Many of our beliefs about dating, masculinity, and success are inherited, not chosen. They come from media, culture, and confused role models that praise men who dominate and perform, but say little about men who listen, reflect, and see beyond appearances. When you begin to see more clearly, you realize that feminine power isn't a trick. It's an energy that's subtle, fluid, and intuitive. From how a single look can alter confidence, to how silence speaks louder than words, feminine energy doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, and those whispers shape destinies. Psychologist Erich Fromm described the feminine psyche as holding the original pattern of transformation, not a literal figure, but a symbol of life as mystery, nourishment, and danger. To face this means confronting aspects of existence that both terrify and fascinate us: love, death, creation, and abandonment. Most men aren't prepared for this confrontation because they were raised to believe in control and logic. But feminine energy isn't always direct. It's symbolic, emotional, and layered. That's not weakness. It's complexity that holds the key to understanding not just women but ourselves. So what do women truly want? Socrates wouldn't give a simple answer. Instead, he would keep questioning until something deeper emerged. Perhaps women don't want men who know all the answers. They want men who see, listen, feel, and respect the mystery, without trying to control it. But seeing requires risk. The risk of losing certainty, of questioning your desires, of recognizing how much of what we call attraction is shaped by childhood wounds and social programming. Consider emotional availability. Many men feel confused when a connection suddenly turns distant. But what if you looked beyond frustration and asked, was I truly available? Or was I performing availability? Women who have experienced emotional hardship can feel the difference, and when they pull away, it's often for self-preservation. In Plato's Symposium, Socrates recounts a conversation with Diotima, a woman philosopher who teaches him that love isn't about possession, it's about becoming. True connection is a ladder that most never climb because climbing means letting go of illusions and shallow games. It means entering a space where love isn't about control or performance, but transformation. This transformation doesn't serve the ego, it dissolves it. And that's exactly what mature feminine energy often catalyzes in men. It reflects back the parts we hide, our tenderness, fears, and hunger for meaning, not to fix us, but because a woman's presence invites the collapse of false selves. If a man resists this process, he rejects not just the woman, but his own evolution. Have you ever felt drawn to someone you couldn't explain? Someone who stirred something ancient inside you? That's not random. It's a soul encounter. Whether that person stayed or vanished, they awakened something you were avoiding. When men truly awaken, they no longer chase illusions or see women as saviors or threats. They begin to see them as mirrors revealing not who the woman is, but who the man truly is beneath his armor. This is why questioning our beliefs can feel dangerous. It forces us to examine the walls of our mental prison and ask, who built this? And why am I still here? What do you believe about women? About love? About your own heart? Are those beliefs helping you grow or keeping you small? The truth isn't always comfortable, but it is liberating. There is a reason why these insights are often dismissed or ignored. They threaten the structures that keep people asleep. When men begin to understand the true nature of feminine energy and their unconscious relationship to it, the games no longer work. The manipulation collapses. The confusion fades. In its place appears something terrifying, clarity. But clarity isn't comfortable. It means responsibility. You can no longer blame others for your wounds or chase shadows hoping they'll become light. You can no longer pretend that ignorance is innocence. In the myth of Psyche and Eros, Psyche is forbidden from looking at her lover's face. When she finally does, everything changes. This myth isn't just about romance. It is about the moment we choose to see, fully and completely. When we stop living in fantasy and confront truth. For men, that moment often comes when they realize their relationships have been shaped not by presence, but by projection and fear. Jung explained this through the anima, the inner feminine within the male psyche. If this remains unconscious, it dominates a man's perceptions. He doesn't love the real woman in front of him. He loves the idea she represents. But when the anima is brought into awareness, the man no longer needs to seek completion outside himself. He becomes whole, and only then can he love from truth rather than need. Most settle for comfort over depth, mistaking familiarity for love. How many times have you stayed in something not because it was right, but because it was familiar? How many times have you confused being wanted with being seen? When men awaken, they recognize that feminine energy isn't a puzzle to decode. It is a force that operates through emotion, intuition, and presence. It cannot be controlled, only respected. Many women test men to see if they can hold this force, not through logic, but through energy. Can you remain centered during emotional storms? Can you hold space without trying to fix everything? This requires strength of a different kind, not dominance but depth, not control but presence. Women connected to their feminine essence feel everything. They know when you're hiding, when your smile is a mask, when you're present, and when you're not. The uncomfortable truth is that most men aren't afraid of women. They're afraid of what women awaken in them. They fear vulnerability, being seen, being called to rise into their full presence. When you face a woman who truly sees you, there's nowhere to hide. What many women never say aloud, but deeply feel is that they aren't waiting for perfect men. They're waiting for present men. Men who don't flinch at emotion, who don't run when challenged, who don't collapse when intimacy becomes real. The deepest feminine longing isn't to dominate a man, but to be met by one, to be felt, heard, and seen not as a role but as a living mystery. Here's the paradox. When a man tries to conquer a woman, he loses himself. When he meets her, he finds himself. The modern world has trained men to perform and chase approval, but none of that touches the soul. Power without presence is empty. Success without depth is hollow. Relationships without truth are prisons dressed as pleasure. The choice is yours. Do you want control or connection? Performance or presence? comfort or truth. Truth will burn away illusions, but in those ashes, a different man is born. One who no longer begs for love but embodies it. Such a man is rare because he cannot be created by comfort. He is forged in fire. The feminine doesn't want a slave. She wants a mirror that reflects her own divine nature and holds it with unwavering presence. This presence cannot be faked. It comes from facing your shadows and emerging whole. The question is, will you awaken or remain asleep? Whatever you choose, remember that the door to truth is always open, but only the brave walk through it.